So, dear friends, meeting again with the session of Organon of Medicine, and we are learning the practical part of the Organon of Medicine, out of which we have finished the homeopathic management of acute diseases in detail, right from aphorism number 150 to 170. And yesterday, we have started dealing with the homeopathic management of chronic diseases. We have learned only two aphorisms in yesterday's session, the 171 and 172, where Dr. Samuel Hahnemann tried to explain over there one important concept, that when you deal with the homeopathic management of chronic diseases, basically when you deal with the fundamental cause, that is the SORA, it it is never happens that single dose of any antisoric remedy will going to cure that patient, but there are several antisoric remedies in succession depending upon the state, presented state. You have to find it out, and then those remedies ultimately bring the patient state of health. So there are many wrong concepts which are there in people's mind, that one remedy, one dose finished the chronic disease is just a imagination. It never happens so. Once in a while, this can be possible, but it is not always so. And that thing he has cleared in the aphorism number 170. And then we have started discussing upon the 171, where he started the first variety of chronic diseases and which are most common in day-to-day practice. In fact, those are the cases with which the people approaches to you, and those are called to be one-sided diseases because they are having very few symptoms. So one-sided diseases with very few symptoms means what? They comes to you with more signs or pathological disorders. So patient comes to you with certain specific pathology, and there are no more symptoms because it 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 has taken long time to develop that pathology, and symptoms vanish during that course. And that's why it becomes really just a pathology, and then it becomes a difficult task. And Hahnemann says these are the diseases which are most difficult in the management. And that's why he has given maximum time to explain and maximum aphorisms to explain the homeopathic management of those diseases. So today we'll start with aphorism number 172, where he explains or regarding the what do you mean by one-sided diseases. So just a minute.
Sir, we cannot hear.
The only diseases that seems to have but few symptoms and on that account to be less amenable to cure are those which may be termed as one-sided because they display only one or two principal symptoms which obscure almost all the others. Obscures means which makes indistinct, अस्पष्ट करणे, obscure. They belong chiefly to the class of chronic diseases. So here he starts explaining about the one-sided diseases and definition of one-sided disease. So what he says, the only diseases that seems to have but few symptoms. So there are only one or two symptoms in the case and patient presents. Such diseases are quite difficult. One example yesterday I have told you regarding the wart on the neck, a one example of it. Or patient comes to you with certain tumor on the face, tumor on somewhere inside the body. So these doesn't carry so much of symptoms, but the pathology over there. And such types of one diseases he labeled by the name of one-sided diseases, and those he explains that those are called and belongs to the class of chronic diseases. And then he differentiates one-sided diseases in next aphorism 174. Their principal symptom may be either an internal complaint. So first variety is one-sided diseases of internal variety. Right over there, one-sided diseases of internal variety. Example, a headache of many years duration, that is, for example, migraine, a diarrhea of long-standing diarrhea, which is persistent for longer period, an ancient cardialgia, etc. Or second variety, or it may be affections of external kind. So external variety of one-sided diseases. So two types he has defined. First is of an internal type which expresses internally, and another which expresses externally. Diseases of the latter, that means external kind, character are generally distinguished by the name of local maladies. So one-sided diseases which are externally expressing are labeled by the name of local maladies or local diseases. So two varieties of one-sided diseases. One-sided diseases due to some with internal manifestation, and one-sided diseases with the external manifestations called to be a local maladies. So this differentiation is necessary to do because your homeopathic management depends upon that. Everything he has defined in a proper manner. So he classified first, and then he starts with the homeopathic management of them. So aphorism number 175 to aphorism number 184, they are related with the homeopathic management of internal variety of one-sided diseases. Aphorism number 175 to 184. This has been explained, or this has been related with the homeopathic management of internal variety of one-sided diseases. Okay, we'll start with 175, homeopathic management of internal variety of one-sided diseases. So what he says, in one-sided disease of the first kind, that is internal variety, it is often to be attributed to the medical observer's want of discernment. Attributed means to show किंवा to give, बहाल करणे, एखादी गोष्ट एखाद्याला बहाल करणे, त्याच्या माथी मारणं. Want of discernment. Discernment means very acute observation, तीक्ष्ण दृष्टी, तीक्ष्ण विवेकी दृष्टी, which can think a lot. So medical observers want of discernment that he does not fully discover the symptoms actually present, which would enable him to complete the sketch of the portrait of the disease. So what happens when such types of patient comes? Patient comes to you with lot of reports. They explain, yes, these are the reports with which they comes to you, and they show those reports, and the diagnosis is there that patient is having the liver cirrhosis. That's all. Nothing more than that. And when one looks towards that, he doesn't have so much of symptoms. The abdomen is fully distended with the fluid, ascitic fluid, and diagnosis is liver cirrhosis. And patient is absolutely weak. He is in a disease state. He is not in a mood to give you a lot of things, and patient is in front of you. Now what is required? That you require a lot of knowledge to understand that patient. It requires, that's why he has utilized one specific word, want of discernment. Because these cases where one-sided disorder is there, you don't have a symptoms where you cannot fulfill the drug picture. You cannot find it out the portrait of disease. So ultimately, on what you have to depend? You have to treat that individual. So if you want to treat that individual with homeopathic remedy, at least you should be able to individualize. And you should individualize that individual on the basis of 7 important points, which he has explained in the aphorism number 5. Which are those 7 points which he has explained? How to investigate a fundamental cause. Which are those 7 cardinal points or 7 points on basis of which you can investigate the fundamental cause and find it out a right remedy. That is what required in order to find it out a right remedy. So because it is a chronic disease, So ascertainable physical constitution of the person. That is the first point which you have to take into consideration. Second is his moral and intellectual character. The third is mode of living and habits. The fourth is his occupation. Then his domestic and social relations. The sixth is his age. And last point is his sexual function. These are 7 cardinal points on the basis of which you have to understand that individual and to fulfill your portrait of disease, because you don't have anything in your hand. If he has 2 symptoms, but those symptoms, if they are characteristic, then yes, you can get the remedy. But if they are not characteristic, then the question arises. Then you have to find the remedy depending upon all those 7 points. This is very important when you deal with chronics. This is very important. These are the things which will guide
Hello,
you.
sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, in between, your voice was paused. Can you repeat again, please?
Yeah. So when you deal with such types of cases, where you require a very specific understanding of that patient. If the symptoms are very specific, characteristic, even though they are 2 in number, but they are characteristic enough to define individuality, then it's okay. But many a times you get a vague symptoms. You never get a complete state expressing directly a remedy. It's so easy when you deal with acutes, but it's rather difficult when you deal with chronics. It is not possible to get it so easily, the characteristic symptoms. And once, if you are not able to get the characteristic symptoms, you have to depend upon these 7 points. So these 7 points, one has to work again and again on those 7 points when you deal with the one-sided diseases or diseases with very few symptoms. And you have to fulfill your portrait of disease. That portrait of disease will guide you towards the remedy. But for that purpose, one important quality which is defined by Hahnemann is the medical observer or the physician should have a want of discernment. So that will guide you, that will understand you, the patient state. He can find it out how the disease has developed, how the disease has evolved. You have to ask the patient that, yes, I agreed you have this problem, but since when this has been started? You have to put the question, since when you are having the problem? Tell me everything right from the start of your disease. Tell me everything when you have got the first problem, right from that till today, what has happened. Because during that whole story, you might get certain symptoms which were define the patient's original functional symptoms. If you are able to catch those functional symptoms, then you can differentiate remedy. But once it has become structural, then it doesn't have a differentiation. And before getting it pathological, before getting it structural, it is necessary to find it out the functional symptoms. And that for that purpose, the homeopath should be a very keen observer. He should be a very much sound senses. The 4 qualities which he has mentioned over there, he should be unprejudiced, he should have keen observer, he should be with sound senses, and last one, he should have fidelity in tracing the picture of the disease. And those 4 qualities which are required in order to get a part and form the portrait of disease in such types of patients. So this is a very important thing which he is explaining in this apology. Let us go ahead what he says in 176. This is what he explains, and this is what just now I have told. 176. There are, however, still a few diseases which, after the most careful initial examination, what he is saying, therefore, however, still a few diseases which, after the most careful initial examination, that is right from aphorism 84 to 98, I will say 83 to 98, whole case taking, present but 1 or 2 severe violent symptoms, while all other are but undistinctly perceptible. So disease has developed long time. It took 5 years to develop, and all functional symptoms which were there prior to this were become obscured. They become vanished. They disappear, and you have only the presenting features which are observable in the form of pathology. They are only one or two. They are distinct, but that doesn't carry any characteristic to differentiate. So you have to look towards those features which get obscured during whole process of development of the disease. And for that purpose, it is necessary to take that case in detail. And the whole case taking we have learned right from aphorism number 83 to 104. We have learned this process, how to deal with the chronic cases. And this is what he explains again, that you have to go towards the same again. And then he turns toward the 177. What is important in that case? So aphorism number 177. In order to meet most successfully such a case as this, which is of very rare occurrence, we are in the first place to select, guided by these few symptoms, the medicine which in our judgment is the most homeopathically indicated. So again he explains, if those symptoms which are presenting and with which you have got the portrait of disease, we have to start the treatment. We cannot wait that symptoms are not there, we cannot give the medicine. The process is that you have to initiate your treatment. And to initiate your treatment, what is needed is symptomatology. And whatever available symptomatology is there, you have to find it out a right remedy. And this portrait, you can find it out with your whole knowledge of how to take the case. And once you get that remedy, start the treatment. What may be the possibilities which can happen? What he says, if you get such types of totality, what are the different possibilities? One possibility which he explains in 178, and we'll finish with that today. It will no doubt sometimes happen that this medicine, selected in strict observance of the homeopathic law, furnishes the similar artificial disease suited for annihilation of the malady present. And this is much more likely to happen when these few morbid symptoms are very striking, decided, uncommon, and peculiarly distinctive, means characteristic. So first possibility is that whatever the symptoms are available, on the basis of which, if you select a remedy, and if those symptoms are very, very characteristic, they are either peculiar, they are either queer, they are either rare, they are either strange, they are either striking. But the very important thing, they are characteristic. Then it is a possibility that the remedy which you have selected might work in that case. That remedy might cure that patient on the basis of that. So that is first possibility which can happen in such types of cases. So see, he explains each and every aspect. If you get that remedy, it's okay. If you don't get remedy, what you can do. So all pros and cons, which he tries to explain over there, and these are very essential. See how he thought 200 years back that these are all questions which can arise in the student's mind. These are all questions which can arise in the homeopath's mind, how to approach. And that approach he has cleared in this way, and he has written each and every word regarding it. So homeopathic management of one-sided diseases, specifically internal variety of one-sided diseases, he tried to explain over there. We have finished few aphorisms regarding it, right from 175 to 178. Tomorrow we'll finish the homeopathic management of one-sided diseases, internal variety completely, and then we'll turn toward the local malady. I think this much is sufficient for today's session. Tomorrow we meet two times, at 6 o'clock with Organon session and at 9 o'clock the repertory session. And that will be a good boost for your homeopathic mind, because I will teach you the logic, how to utilize the repertory, how to think when considering the mental state, how one must think about the remedies, how one must differentiate about remedies. Many things will be there in tomorrow's session. So don't miss tomorrow's session and ask all of your colleagues to join our this activity. So thank you being there. If you have any query, we'll discuss. Otherwise, we'll conclude the session.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, how much time does it take to dissolve osteophytes with homeopathy, and are they reversible?
First is they are reversible. Second important thing, if osteophytes are developed, it means there is a degeneration more. Most probably, it might be because of obesity. You have to treat the obesity first so that osteophytes dissolves very fast. But generally, to dissolve the osteophytes, it is a process nearly about 6 months to 12 months, depending upon patients, all those obesity and all other things which you have to tackle in between. But osteophytes definitely dissolves. Osteophyte dissolves till it requires.
Okay. And sir, one more thing. If a portrait of disease match with the portrait of medicine, and only thing is not matching, that is right sided or left sided, so in that case, can we consider that remedy?
Yes, yes, you can. You can. Definitely.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? So thank you being there for today's session. Tomorrow we'll meet at a 6 o'clock first and at 9 o'clock in the evening. Thanks a lot. Thanks, sir. And thanks, Ali, and all members, all doctors who have joined over there. I think there are the people who are even from the other countries also. Thank you, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time, 6 o'clock.